It is 8:08, 8 past the hour. The big news is it looks like Tom Cole is going to have a challenger from his own party when he runs for Congress this time around. And we are joined in studio this morning by James Taylor. And James was a phone guest a couple of weeks ago, and he happens to be in town today because he's going to be giving a talk somewhere here in town and to some pastors. And we said, well, let's get you in studio and find out more about you and find out what your plan is to beat Tom Cole. So real quick, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and how you got to this point where you want to run for Congress.
Well, I am James Taylor. I'm a pastor by profession. I'm in my 39th year as a pastor, and I'm also a school teacher. I teach U.S. history to 8th graders at Roosevelt Middle School in Oklahoma City. I have been following what happens because the scriptures talk about all these issues that we have allowed to become political issues. My book is biblical, not political. How to line up candidates biblically is literally my years of vetting candidates. I vet candidates every single time I go out to vote. The people in our congregation, they ask for my cheat sheet because I look at judges. I want to know what these judges, how they vote. I go and do my research. So they know that when I've done this, it's very reliable. And so my book is just putting it into a format that people can look at. And it really really put this into full effect after Barack Obama got elected, because I was just dumbfounded. How could godly people vote the way they did? And just didn't make any sense to me. And so for me, how I got to where I am, I've been having people ask me for years to run. In fact, the last 2 elections, people have asked me in the Republican Party to challenge Tom Cole. And I just wasn't interested in that. But what happened, the final straw for me was the omnibus bill. And once that happened, it was like the last thing. I've been praying about what to do since 2010, and God has not given me peace. And it wasn't, my wife could tell you that once I was released from God to pursue this, the peace came, and I've never been more in the will of God than I am right now.
In your campaign literature, you refer to yourself as a constitutional conservative. What does that mean?
I believe in the Constitution. The Constitution is the law of the land. I believe in what our Constitution stands for. I teach it to my kids at school. That's what we need to be following. I think that, like, for example, our leaders are not following the Constitution because every time they vote for CRs, they're not following the Constitution. Mm-hmm. There's nothing in there about doing continuing resolutions. And so that just means that they're lazy. They're not doing their job. So we didn't send them up there for that. That's just one example of that. The amendments, First Amendment, Second, etc. I believe that even the 10th Amendment, the federal government has just ate up so much power. They're like they have an insatiable appetite for power. And once they keep biting and taking, they never relinquish that. And it is up to the states, literally, to start up and stand up and say, hey, wait a minute, this got to stop. In fact, the truth is, the federal government was created by the states, not the states created by the federal government. And the government doesn't recognize that. And so that's what I believe in. The Constitution is the standard by which we need to follow. And that's the principles that are in my writings. Okay,
so why Cole? You mentioned the CR and the omnibus. They've been doing the CR year after year after year. So what was it about this year's that pushed you over the edge?
Well, in the the omnibus bill, it fully funded Obamacare. It fully funded Obama's amnesty program. It fully funded sanctuary cities. It fully funded the refugee program. It fully funded alien resettlement programs. It fully funded tax credits for illegals. It fully funds Planned Parenthood. I mean, that's a private entity. Right. I mean, that should never.
You do know that Tom Cole's out there telling his constituents that's not true. He's been on Meet the Press and every other program, and he says, no, this is propaganda being spread by people like me on the radio.
Well, see, and that is just how out of touch Tom Cole is with his constituents. He wants to keep his job.
Right.
And so he's got to tell people, because the American people, it was Einstein who said that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Mm-hmm. And it's time to stop the insanity. We know how Tom Cole's going to vote right now. There's no question how he's going to vote. He's proven it for the last 13 years. He's in his 14th now. He's proven how he's going to vote. And to stop the insanity, you must get somebody different in there. Mm-hmm. And And the reason you asked the question, why Tom Cole? He's in my district. And not only that, one of the things that people need to be aware of is on January 19th, the Congressional Budget Office came up with figures about what's going on with how this is going to be. The omnibus bill has just given every one of us over the next 10 years, guess what? Another $4.5 trillion. Another $4.5 trillion. So it's just a mind-boggling that our debt now, when Tom Cole came in office, we had a $6 trillion debt. He has raised the debt ceiling multiple times, most recent in October, and now we just keep spending and raising the debt ceiling. And so now we've gone from 19 trillion when he started at 6, now we're at 19. It's more than triple. It's going to quadruple if we it's going to quadruple because of decisions he's made. We need to stop that and start reining that in.
Eddie.
Let me ask you, your district, how large is it? Where does it begin and where does it go?
We have 13 solid districts. We have pieces of others. So we have about 15 counties that we're dealing with. And so we're Oklahoma City, south, and we're kind of like a pie shape that goes all the way down to the Red River. So we have a pretty healthy-sized district. The bulk of the votes are up in the Oklahoma City area.
I see. So it is that. And then where do you intersect with the Colonel, what's his name?
Russell,
yeah.
His district is north of ours.
Right, so it borders yours.
Yeah, he's north of us, and we're south of him. Yes.
Yeah. I think it's fair to say that your district, Cole's district right now, for which you live in, is pretty much southwest Oklahoma. If I had to describe it on a map, that's
southwest, south central,
right.
Really.
Yeah. You have more Midwest City.
City, Tinker, Norman, and everything south.
Wow.
Ada, Lawton, Fort Seal, etc.
I noticed in your book you bring up something very interesting that jumped out at me. Scripture that I always from Acts 17 about God setting the boundaries of nations and people. And I've never thought of it in the terms when you get in these arguments with Christians who say it's unchristian to believe in borders, and you state that God is the one who.
Correct.
Proposed borders.
Yeah, Acts 17 clearly tells us that it is God who established borders, how long a nation is going to be in existence, and that is not something that I say, should be held up to an unaccountable group of nations called the United Nations under the guise of global governance. That's just ridiculous. So God has established how long a nation is going to be in place. That's not up to man. That's up to God. God uses men in the process of changing things, but God is the one who establishes that.
You know, when it comes to Cole, I mean, you're really in a David versus Goliath situation here. This guy, at least when it comes to the House of Representatives, he's got a lot of time there. He's probably Paul Ryan's most beloved, and certainly was John Boehner's most beloved member of the Oklahoma delegation. He's got some money. I think you said $1.5 million right now. And I guarantee you, if they think he's really being challenged, Paul Ryan and others, Reince Priebus, they'll funnel tons of money here to see that he wins. You know, so what's your plan to take on Goliath?
Well, I don't look at it as David versus Goliath. I look at it as David versus Saul. The difference is this. Saul was doing everything he could to keep his job. Right. And the problem was David had already been anointed the new king. I don't know if people realize what the name James means. My name James means supplanter, one who takes the place of. And so maybe my parents were prophets when they were naming me, because that's what the intent is. We have a ground group that is just growing. I'm amazed at what's happening. These folks are just incredible people. The people, when I first started talking about this and going out, I kept hearing a term. People were saying, the ABC movement, the ABC movement. I said, what the heck is the ABC movement? Finally, I just asked, and that was an anybody but Cole movement. That's what it's at. And so I would respond by saying, I'm not just anybody. I have substance. I have standards that I apply to, right. And there is going to be the contrast is stark. And I'm well aware of what's going on with his money versus my lack of money,
right?
Or my lack of money at this time, I should say, because God is providing. The people of America not just Oklahoma, but people of America, they're tired of the same old. Why do you think that Ted Cruz won Iowa when he wasn't supposed to? Because the people are tired of politics as usual. They're tired of the same old going on. We already know what's going to happen with Tom. And so we have got a ground group that is powerful. And I don't want to dismiss this. I know in society, people have a tendency to dismiss God. But the reason I'm in this is because God released me to do it. And God doesn't release us to do something unless he has a plan in it. And so because I'm trusting what he's doing, he has a lot of money. He's going to get the backing of the Republican establishment.
Sure.
But I'm going to let you know something. God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. But I'm going to let you know a little secret. He also owns the hills. So I'm not worried at this point about that, because we don't need a lot of money to defeat him. We just need to be strategic in how we use that money.
You've also, he's got tremendous name recognition,
Yes.
not only in your district, but throughout the state. Gets a lot of exposure, on the networks. I mentioned Meet the Press and some of the other programs where he's a regular. Your name is probably not one that's on the tip of everybody's lip, okay? But name recognition. How do you, given your limited resources right now, how do you get your message out?
Well, I'm going out, talking to people. Your show here is reaching a lot of people.
Right.
That's making a difference. I was on Breitbart earlier in the last week.
Really?
Breitbart Radio, yes, sir.
Wow.
That reached quite a few people. That was wonderful. There's some other.
How did they wind up bringing you over there?
Well, it's like everything in life is who somebody knows.
Okay.
And so the right person knew, and they actually.
I got a hunch. I know who it is.
And so they had me speak, and that was really beneficial because, see, people need to understand that this is a national election.
Yeah.
My decisions in Washington are going to affect the people here in Tulsa as well. In fact, Tom made a decision to raise the debt ceiling and vote on the omnibus. Now, guess what, folks? We got a Christmas present of $4.5 trillion now that is affecting us here. That's why this is very, very important. And the more people that I can talk with, the greater the opportunity it will be. Breitbart's going to be doing a story. They're kind of strategically working with that because of, the president election stuff is a big deal right now. So they're trying to drop my stuff in there so that it will not compete with that. And I think that's great. So that's what is happening.
Real quick before I go into a break, people want to find out more about you. Plug your website real quick.
TaylorOK.com. TaylorOK. TaylorOK.com.
All right, back with more from James Taylor. You're listening to the Pat Campbell Show here on Talk Radio 1170 KFAQ. 827 talking with James Taylor. He's running for Congress against Congressman Tom Cole. James, I don't know. I haven't gone back and checked. When was the last time Cole had a challenger from within his own party? Has he ever?
Well, he had a challenger last time. In fact, her name was Annie Flats. And what she did, she got 16% of the vote against him. Now, what people don't realize is she didn't campaign. She just went down and took care of fees, and she didn't call anybody. She didn't have a committee. She didn't do that. She just made a protest vote against Tom Cole. And in one county, she got almost 25% just by doing nothing. Well, I'm not going to do nothing. I'm challenging him. I'd love to debate him. I wish he'd debate. I'd issue an opportunity to debate anytime to look at the issues because his voting record has indicated where he's at. And so
has he ever had in his, I think you said he's going on 14 years here, has he ever had a viable challenger before?
Not really. Okay. I mean, there's been times when he's gone unopposed with even Democrats. So not really. He's entrenched. I mean, this year there are 3 challengers to incumbents. I just happen to pick probably the most powerful one, but it's because that's the district I'm in.
You're running against Cole. We've got Russell's got an opponent.
Yes.
And Mark Wayne Mullen's got an opponent, too.
Absolutely.
All Republicans.
All Republicans, all conservatives, and all 3 of us are working together at this point. In fact, we're working, talking, and that's part of our strategy because we're thinking once people realize that there are people who are frustrated. We're not angry. We're just frustrated that our people that represent us are not representing us. They claim to say one thing, but they do a different thing. And so we are, the three of us are plotting together, so to speak, and we've been in communication, trying to figure out the best strategy that we can use. And so we're not going to reveal that on the air at this time.
Let me ask you this question before we go to the break here at the bottom of the hour. What's Tom Cole's greatest weakness?
I think his greatest weakness is he's out of touch with his constituents. I have an article from the Lawton Constitution, and the very first line says, 4th District U.S. Representative Tom Cole disagrees with his constituents who say that most recent legislation session didn't yield any results. That's the theme of his town halls. Mm-hmm. He's in total disagreement with the people. They're trying to ask him what's going on. He says, no, this is not what it's really like. I think that's his number one weakness. I also think a weakness is he doesn't understand the groundswell of people who are frustrated with him. Mm-hmm. I don't think that people in Washington understand what's going on. Thus, the rise of people who are not traditional politicians. Right. They're tired of traditional politicians. I think his other weakness is his lack of voting the way the people feel. I mean, his voting record is just abysmal. Just absolutely abysmal. I mean, he's got from the Heritage Action Group, he's got a 36% voting rate for conservative. I mean, 36% at a time. I use this illustration.
I bet Dan Bourne had a better record than that.
Well,
seriously.
36%. I mean, that's like saying, well, I'm happily married and I'm faithful to my wife, but only 36% of the time. What woman would appreciate that? Well, even if let's raise that and say 50%. Yeah,
Hillary would appreciate
that. Yeah, she would. That's true. There are people who would appreciate that. Yeah. But if you raise that to 50%, that's still not a good number. You raise it to 75%, that still doesn't represent faithfulness. But he claims to be a conservative, and so I think that. People, once they see the contrast, and they hear it, basically getting the information out. The more I can get the information out, the more people can see, wait a minute, there is something different.
More coming up. We're talking with James Taylor. He's running for Congress against Tom Cole. You're listening to the Pat Campbell Show here on Talk Radio 1170 KFAQ, where Tulsa comes to talk. 39, we are back with James Taylor. He is a candidate for Congress. He's going to be running against Tom Cole in District 4. And James, let me play a little hardball with you here. I've got a friend of mine who listens to the program. She's hearing you for the very first time. She said the following in a text message. She said, Tom Cole has nothing to worry about. All right. And just I want you to hear this out so you can respond to it. To which I said, what's missing? Okay. Money, name recognition, a party backing, and a reluctance by many to elect another minister of another denomination. Cole is arrogant, but he also has the backing of the GOP money. How do you respond to that?
He has the backing of the GOP money. He has name recognition. I'm new at this. I will have name recognition. The name James Taylor. There's people know who the name James Taylor is. They're going to have to learn to associate it. We're looking forward to the day when you Google James Taylor, my name's at the top and not the singer. So that's going to be, and that'll be happening. But the difference is this. I go back to what I've always said earlier with our campaign. You got to stop the insanity. You put Tom Cole in, we're going to get more of the same. We already know he's already voted to increase the debt upon us. Huge amount of debt. Right. That's just going to continue. The only thing the thing has to change. And people are giving money to your caller friend. She should probably give some money too to help support this cause, because the decisions that Tom is making is affecting her. They're already affecting her. I'd like for her to give that money now, because as time goes on, she won't be having that money to give because of what Tom's decisions have been. So I'm looking forward to the challenge. I've never backed down from a challenge. I've been in sports in the past, even in collegiate level, and I always like taking on a big challenge, because the bigger the challenge, the better it is. And I love it. So there are going to be people who feel the same way, but I am convinced that this is Tom's last year in Congress.
How would you govern differently than Tom Cole? What are the differences going to be? Let's say you pull this off, you get elected. What are the first things you plan on doing?
Well, one of the things I would like to do is deal with the issue of term limits. I know Tom is not in favor of term limits. I think the 22nd Amendment, when they were looking at that, it didn't go far enough. They should have put term limits on themselves. And so I will be trying to encourage people to do
some people have put term limits on themselves. Jim Bridenstine and Mark Wayne Mullen.
Well, and see, I would be a self-imposed term limiter as well.
How many years?
I like what Oklahoma does. The 12 years is a good number, a round-up number. If a person is in the Senate, they get 2. So I like that. That's kind of good. I haven't really settled on that, but 12, with no more than 12, because that's how Oklahoma's is set up, and I like that.
Okay.
Because term limits you would get rid of these career politicians. That's all they are.
Would you support Paul Ryan for Speaker of the House? Would you vote for him?
No.
Why not?
The omnibus bill.
Right.
He pushed for that. He's part of the problem with getting us at this debt. I wouldn't. You can't keep doing the same thing. There's got to be something different. You have to have someone. You have to have lots of someones that say enough is enough, and that's one of the reasons why I will be the next congressman. Enough is enough in District 4 because he's out of touch with who we are. We've got to change. We know what he's going to do. We know what he's going to do. I teach the Constitution to my 8th grade students, and they have an idea of what's going on, and they can figure out this and say. In fact, they'll tell me they'll say, "Why are they doing that when this says this?" I say, "That's an excellent question." And so the kids know, and these are 8th graders that know better. So that my approach is simply this: we need to get a lot of people to come in there and to start making changes. If we don't make a change, there will not be anything different. So no, I'm not voting. So I haven't said that. I know that the RNC is not going to support me at this point, but I knew that going into this. So
Bridenstine did that when he went in. The first thing he did was vote against Boehner, which people thought that's just crazy. It's political suicide. You're guaranteeing that you're not going to get any positions on any committees or any boards or anything like that. So. All right, hold that thought. More coming up from our guest, James Taylor. He's running for Congress. James, before I go into the break, real quick, the website again.
TaylorOK.com. TaylorOK.com.
All right. More coming up. You're listening to the Pat Campbell Show here on Talk Radio 1170 KFAQ. It is 8:50. We are back in studio here with James Taylor. He's a school teacher, a pastor, a constitutional conservative, and he's going to be running against Tom Cole in District 4. If you want to find out more about him, you can go to his website at TaylorOK.com. That's TaylorOK.com. Eddie, you got questions?
Yeah. James, you had talked about term limits being high on your list of priorities, but what do you think are the, say, 2 major issues facing us as Americans that need priority, that need to be dealt with first?
I think our national security is paramount. We have our border is, well, do we actually have a border down? I mean, it's very porous at the very least. And so I believe that we need to deal with that. And by simply enforcing the laws that we already have, we don't have to, I mean, even the fence, it's already been voted on. Now they just need to fund it. That's something that has already been set up. The Congress has already done. It's not like it's a conservative thing. It's just that's what's been voted on. So the first thing that needs to happen is I think our border security needs to be beefed up. I think our people that are first responders need to be able to protect us. And that's a big deal. I think our national defense is a priority, to have our military to be strong. Our military under our current administration has been depleted. It's not the size is smaller than when it was in the early 1900s, and so we need to really do some things with that. So that would be the priority. No, you said 2 things, didn't you? I also think that with the border issue of security, there is some concern with just having an open border that would allow any and everybody to come in. I'm for legal immigration. I have issues with illegal immigration. Because if I were to go to any other country, I'd have to follow their laws. And so that's to be expected to be able to follow law. So I think that would be the number one thing first is our national defense is a priority. I think our border would be a second thing, which kind of dovetails into that.
Right.
Oh, it's all you.
Oh, it's all me.
It's all you, man. I'm just sitting back and watching you for the rest of the show.
Okay. Do you have any military experience?
No, only military experience is I grew up as an Air Force brat. My dad was in the Air Force for 26 years. He was stationed at Cannon Air Force Base for 18 of that. And now he retired and went to Vance Air Force Base and worked there at the flight simulators with the training of pilots. And he retired from there. He was there for 30 years, and he's now retired. So I don't have any experience. In fact, when I was in high school, middle school and high school, I was kind of preparing for it because Vietnam was going on, but then it ended. And then they stopped the draft. So when they started it back up, I was too old, so I never would have gone in. But I have great fond appreciation for our military and what they do. When we are out, we see our military people. We usually take care of their meals with the waitresses, so they don't know who's paying for it. And because I appreciate them, what they do. Same thing with our police officers, first responders. We try to minister to them in that regards because they are the lifeblood of our nation.
What's your educational background?
I am a pastor. My ministry. I have a doctorate degree in ministry as well, and so I love learning. Education is a great equalizer. I'm not talking about degrees, just knowledge. Having the information levels the playing field, and so the more that you can learn, the more that you can apply. You just level the playing field.
But you have a
doctorate,
in teaching.
Teaching degree too. I have a teaching certification in history, U.S. history. Well, it's several things, but social studies. But if I had a choice, I do government first. I love the way the government works. Well, let me rephrase that. I love the way the government was designed to work. The way it's working now is not quite the same as how it was designed. But U.S. history, I love that too. I just can't get enough of that.
I see. In this presidential race right now, you told us you're a Cruz supporter. Why do you find Ted Cruz to be the? Well,
actually, I didn't say I was a Cruz supporter. I was making reference to what happened in Iowa.
I see.
Because I've been told, don't tell who you're going to really vote for yet, because you're going to need those people to help you during the process after the primary, after March. So I'll actually come out and let people know after March.
Eventually.
Yeah, after March 1st, who I'm actually for. But so I mean, I like Cruz. I like the Republican field. Most of them, I think any of them do better than Democrats. So, initially, the guy I liked at the very beginning, it got out of it real quick, and that was Walker. I like Scott Walker because he stood the test of time, and in August he was second. The next thing you know, and that's the problem I have with polls, because polls have literally they're the first primary, and people that could be good people have been taken out because of polls, and then the money dries up, and I have a problem with that.
Gentlemen, we are just about out of time. James Taylor has been my guest. Again, if people want to find out more about you and your campaign, where do we send them?
TaylorOK.com. TaylorOK.com. I'm going to ask for your support. You can call people. You can donate. As the person who emailed earlier, we need you to donate to our campaign. Her comment was about money. Her and the rest of you out there, you need to donate to this campaign, because if money was equal, it would not even be a contest. Wouldn't even be a contest. But because money is not equal and money talks, right, that's what it is.
All right, James, we appreciate it. Good luck. Again, James Taylor for Congress. Check him out online at TaylorOK.com.